Now, Ben, U.S. stocks are dropping on the news of all of this. Is this any sort of, I guess, example of what President Trump was saying, that he was stumping on, saying that China is a currency manipulator, they're manipulating our markets? Is this an example?
I don't think it's necessarily an example of China manipulating the markets. I think it's an example of China saying, again, we're going to be less dependent on you. Every time a nation says we're going to be less dependent on the U.S. economy and certainly on the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank, keep in mind, the Federal Reserve Bank in the last few months, Manila, has printed new money. They have printed as much money as the entire market cap of Bitcoin in just the last couple of months. And so this is something that the Federal Reserve Bank does that severely weakens the US dollar, because you're just printing into an oblivion. There's nothing that backs it. There's nothing that supports it, except for military might. That's essentially all that it is. And so when you're fast printing these dollars, if anything, that's what's hurting the stock market more than China buying gold, more than Russia buying gold. Other nations are doing it, but other nations need to put us on notice. They need to put the U.S. on notice to say, stop with these crazy plans for printing money with absolutely no recognition of what that means in the future in terms of the devaluation of the dollar. We are devaluating the dollar by what the Federal Reserve is doing.
Absolutely. All right, Ben. We will see how this all plays out in the coming days when they meet up again about trade talks. Ben Swan, as always, appreciate your insight. Thank you.
All right, shalawam. First off, I want to say all praises to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Qudash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of GMS, and to the elect doing the work in sincerity and in truth. Shalawam. As you can see in that video from RT News, it states that these other nations, primarily the BRICS nations, which consist of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, they're investing in alternate forms of money, which is that gold, right? Which is in turn hurting the dollar. But like the guy just said, it's not really them that's doing it. It's what's really hurting the dollar is the government, which is the Federal Reserve, printing money out of thin air, right? Which causes what? Hyperinflation. Okay? Which we know that the ultimate goal of the hyperinflation is to devalue the money, so then they can introduce an alternate form of payment or money, which is that RFID chip. Okay, that's going to be the new currency, the RFID chip, where you can buy or sell. Okay, all right. So that's their end goal. That's the reason why these other nations or America or the powers that be are devaluing the dollar, because don't think for a second that they don't know that infusing money, created money out of thin air and putting it into the economy. Don't think for a second that they don't know that it's going to cause their money to devalue. They know that. Okay? These damn devils know what the hell they're doing. They're doing this on purpose to devalue the dollar. Okay? They know that in introducing money or creating money out of thin air is going to cause because they've been examples of that throughout history, like the Weimar Republic. I believe that was in Germany, in South America, in Zimbabwe. You have plenty of situations where hyperinflation was happened and it devalued the money, them printing money out of thin air. It happened in ancient Rome. Okay, so they know this. Okay, but they're doing it. Why? To introduce an alternate form of economy. So hyperinflation, I got a definition here. It says hyperinflation is when the prices of goods and services rise more than 50% in a month. It starts when a country's government begins printing money to pay for its spending. Instead of tightening the money supply to stop inflation, the government keeps printing money. And that's exactly what is going on here. So, and also what he said in the video, which is causing the devaluing of the money of the dollar, is them putting sanctions on these other nations. Now, the way these nations get around that is they just say, you know what? All right, we're just gonna trade and do business in other forms of money like gold. We're gonna link up with these other nations and form a BRICS nation: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And we're gonna deal when we deal with each other. We're gonna deal in other forms of money, and then you can't penalize us because we're not using the dollar. So that is also hurting the American economy. Okay. Now I got this scripture here in Habakkuk, the second chapter. Let me read that real quick. It says, Habakkuk 2:6. It says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay." Right? And when you go into the word, when you go into that word, clay, it goes back to the Hebrew word ibatyat, which means heavy debts. Okay? Heavy debts. And that's what America is doing. It's creating it's covered in massive amount of debt. Now this country owes, within a span of 10 years or 20 years from 2000 to 2019, it's accumulated more debt than it has since the birth of the nation back in 1776. It's created way more debt in the span of 20 years than it has from 1776 to 2000. That's crazy. Okay, and there's no way that an economy can last or stand when you're creating that much debt at a rapid rate. This country is on its way out, man. There's no way that a country can withstand that much debt, especially that fast. And they just keep printing and printing and printing money. You gotta think that they're doing this for a reason, that they're doing this on purpose, and the purpose that they're doing it is to create an alternate form of currency or a form of payment, which is that RFID chip. And you can see that because they're already prepping the people with alternate forms of paying, not using cash, using your debit card, or using your an app to pay for things and pay for that. They got the Amazon store where you just walk into a store and just leave without paying. So they're already prepping the minds of the people of using a microchip, and because the next step is using a microchip. All right, so that's pretty much it. I wanted to bring that info out real quick from RT News. These other nations are using alternate forms of money, which in turn is devaluing the dollar. All right, so Lord willing, you brothers were edified. Until our next show, shalawam.